welcome to the Free to Lead podcast, Journeys of Leaders, driven by passion, inspired by purpose. Today we have a very special in-person interview today with my colleague and co-creator in the Middle East. We're in Cairo, Egypt for today's episode. And I'd like to introduce you in a moment to Eldemellawy.
Yeah.
Okay. I've known him for over 20 years and I still get the pronunciation of his surname incorrect. I managed to accurately say his first name, which has taken some intense Arabic lessons. But here we are. And Ahmed, yes, please, we'd like to find out your history, your backstory, and how you ended up where you are today. Dr. Ahmed leads programs across the Middle East that are all to do with health and being and the balance of emotions and the connection between the two. And he invited me to come and create a leadership program with him just over a year ago. And we've been engaged with that project ever since. We're about to lead this weekend the 5th program. So, Dr. Ahmed, without further ado, welcome to the Free to Lead podcast.
I'm very happy to be here with you in Cairo, having this podcast together.
Yes, it's wonderful.
I'm very, really excited and happy.
Yes, and how we came to work together is you made a request of me. You were coaching with me. You're still coaching with me, one of my clients.
Yes, that's true.
And you made a request of me, given our past history and my experience in leading programs and experience in leading leadership programs.
Yes.
You could tell everybody a little bit about that.
Yes, actually, I met about more than 20 years ago. Actually, we met in London.
Yes.
We were doing one of the programs that I was attending, and you were the leader of that program.
Yes.
And I was flying between Cairo and London, and you actually supported me to be very unreasonable to do that. And you were supporting me. You were on the phone, summarizing meetings and actually helping me or giving me, supporting me, getting more momentum going to keep the process of being in the program going. It was really difficult, but the experience was one of the strongest experiences I had in my life. And in that experience, actually, I really admired you as a supporter and as a man of vision, and a man who pursues his vision, who pursues what he wants and make it happen. So I like that, and through this work we became close and we started to communicate over the years.
Yes.
And more than 2 years ago now, or about 2 years ago, I requested you to coach me. So we started a coaching relationship. And about a year and a half ago, we started preparing for the leadership program in the Middle East. And this is actually my dream, because I want to elaborate a little bit on this.
Yeah, please.
When I traveled to the United States in 1986, and I was doing postgraduate degree in biomedical engineering. And I was like, wow, I was in the University of Washington. The Bioengineering Center at that time in the University of Washington was ranked the second best bioengineering center in the world. So actually, it's a huge thing, and It's very advanced. And I was like, wow, what's this? It's amazing. And working working in the university and being in the program, I found that success actually is not in the science and developing science. No, it's in the behavior and developing the behavior. Because I've seen how professors and how students are working and how they are putting a lot of effort and how they are so tenacious and so strong in pursuing what they want. And at that moment, I realized that the difference between the United States as an advanced country and Egypt as a not advanced country, I discovered that it isn't this. It's in the behavior. It's not in the science. Because the science, I can get the science fast, but I cannot get the behavior change fast. And since that moment, I started to think, can I help in making a difference in behavior in Egypt and in the Arab world and Middle East? And I went through I went through actually a long trip pursuing that. And in this trip, actually, we met in London,
Yes.
and I thought about, can I, using this work I'm going through with, can I get this work in the Middle East? And I remember we talked about this in London,
Yes.
and but it didn't work. I wasn't successful enough. And when we met 2 years ago and we started the coaching sessions, I got the same dream again. Why not? You can help me, and we work together to pursue this dream. And when I told you about it, actually, and I thank you for this actually, because you received it very well, and you actually, yeah, let's go for it.
Yes.
And actually, it was, for me, it was wow. And we started, and we're making things happen, and I'm so excited and very optimistic. I don't use, it's not optimistic. I'm so determined to make this progress, or to make this project that we are having together really have a huge impact in our area.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. And you're a medical doctor,
Yes.
right? And you have a interesting slant on health.
Yes.
Yes. Just to slide back more into your journey.
Okay.
So, very simply, in very layman's terms, from what I understand, is your big premise is that all illness is as a result of an imbalance in the emotions.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you've got together a way of distinguishing the particular emotions at play in a particular person's illness.
Exactly. 100%.
So how did that all happen? Because you go to medical school the same as everybody else, but now you've got this whole world. Can you say a little bit about how you stumbled across that? Or
I will tell you. Actually, since I was a very little kid, I always look at people and read them. I thought that everybody's like me, so I never talked about it. But this is what I do all the time. That I sit anywhere, in a coffee shop or in an airport, or even at any place. All what I do is sit down, saying nothing, and looking at people and reading them. I do that all the time. And by chance, about 10 years ago, a relative of mine told me, "Wow, are you reading old people all the time? This is very strange." I told him, aren't you like this? He said, "No, I've never seen anybody like this in my life." So I said, "Wow, this is really strange." So I started to notice that I'm very interested in reading people and in understanding how they feel. Ordinary people in the street, I will never see them again. Just have just a simple look. I want to read this person and understand how he or she feels. And then by chance, I met a master, he's a trainer in Max Lusher Foundation. At that time, it was not called foundation, but it was Max Lusher Foundation. It's a foundation that promotes a special color test, a book of colors. And this book was designed by Professor Max Lusher. He's a professor in psychology,
Yes.
very well known. And by choosing the different, you choose it's 9 pages, and you keep choosing colors and shapes, and then I write them down and I analyze the results. And you get, but in this test you get lots of information about how the person feels. I met this person in 2013, and I managed, by chance, to make the story short, actually to run a course for him in Sharm el-Sheikh here in Egypt. It was by chance. It was not planned.
Right.
And I attended the course as an organizer, not as a participant.
Yes.
And I was the best one in the course. And I became a very close friend of his.
Yes.
And we started communicating and working together. And I managed to actually teach in about 3 years after that, I managed to teach the course in Egypt.
Yes.
With his help.
Yes.
Actually, using the technology of Max Lusher, actually, it was like a dream come true for me, because I started to use a very powerful technology in analyzing what I read in people.
Mm.
It was for me the first time that I have something that I can like analyze and calculate. You know?
Yes, yes.
I used to like use it depend on how I feel, how I read.
Yes.
But right now I'm having a very valid reference.
Yes.
And I started to use it in my clinic.
Yeah.
And at that time, there is a German oncologist who specialized in tumors. He developed a science he named German medicine.
Mm.
He was not very popular because of his political agenda.
Okay.
I'm not into politics, but I did what he taught and what he was claiming, that every tissue in the body represents a specific emotion.
Mm.
For me, it was like, wow, every tissue in the body represents a specific emotion, and every color represents a specific emotion too.
Mm.
So I started to see the human body in color. It was amazing.
Yes.
And I started in my clinic. See, when I get patients, or I call them clients, I don't like to call them patients. When I receive clients in the clinic, I started to discuss with them and see with them how their complaints actually is, how I can see their complaints as an emotion.
Mm.
And I started working with them.
Yes.
And I'm a scientific person, so I started to incorporate more ideas. Like there's a neuroscientist, a neurologist, he's a medical doctor, American one. His name is Steve Porges.
Mm.
I used his theory to develop the work of the German doctor.
Yes.
So I started to get more science to make the concept that I'm using even higher and more advanced, and I'm doing that all the time. And the more I do that in my clinic, I'm a very hard worker. I can work easy 15, 16, 17 hours a day.
Yes.
So I see lots of cases, and I'm applying this work. And the more I apply it, the more I see, wow, results are happening. Like a kid in a toy store.
Yes.
Wow, amazing.
Yes.
It's happening. It's like that.
Yes.
So I started to see how very simple approaches to the feelings, how people feel,
Yes.
and how you can help people modify their way of feeling,
Yes.
can immediately affect the relevant tissues. And I see that in their colors.
Yes.
And I work with them and they improve.
What are some of the results, like medical conditions, that you've actually treated through your new approach?
I don't like to say I made people or I healed people. I like to say I guide people to self-heal.
Right.
I use this.
Yeah.
So I did successfully guide people to self-heal with diabetes type 1,
Right.
which is not curable.
In the Western philosophy and medicine,
in the typical medicine,
it's not curable. That's
it's not
right.
curable. Diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2.
And you're curing that with this approach.
And that's almost every day. It's my work every day. Hashimoto, which is weak thyroid gland.
Yes.
I do work in that. Multiple sclerosis, which is incurable disease in typical medicine. Lower back pain, you name it.
But also, what was interesting, because I had another client that I referred to you through, I think she was 50 years old and she wanted to have children.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I worked with her, but
Not just her, you've worked with quite a lot of people around fertility also.
in fertility, I got extremely powerful results. With your referral, I was not very successful because actually I felt sick. Since I started with her, I stopped about 6 months working with her, and then I got back to start working with her about 2 weeks ago again.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't claim that this specific case I got any result because actually I didn't work enough with her. But I have many cases of problems in fertility, problems in even choosing the type of the sex of the baby.
Mm.
Because when the woman changes how she feels with her husband, the probability of a male or female increases.
Wow.
It's not like 100% exact, but we got 80, 70, 80% positive results.
How many people would that be that's in that group?
The choice of that they can choose the choice. We're talking about could be like 50, 60, like that.
50, 60 people. Of those 50, 60 people, 70, 80% of them.
No, 50, 60 people who managed to get the baby, the sex of the baby, what they want.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, we were together in Morocco.
Yes.
One of the attendants came to me. She told me, I really want to thank you. I told her why. She told me, I have 3 girls and I was pregnant and I wanted to get pregnant and I told you how I can get a boy. And you told me how to get a boy and I got a boy. Thank you. And actually it was not like a session. It was like an advice after the course.
Did they name the boy Ahmed?
So this is how it happened. And right now, actually, I have in every disease, I have a team working with me and we're developing.
Your purpose is to have people really not just get what they want, but live the life that they really want to be living.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I can see how, as an extension, if you like, or what we've discovered, one of the big discoveries was the last program we led in Cairo, that last time. We had a lady there, and I was talking to her. We were getting to what happened with her in her life when she was growing up in a traumatic incident, and she almost collapsed on the floor. She didn't quite collapse. She was still on her feet, but she was right down on the floor, and I was like down on the floor, like holding her hand, saying, "You okay?" And all this emotion came out, and it's crying and sobbing, and it was like, "Okay, this is really on the edge. This is this person enough to be in the program." But then it all went away, and I looked to you and I said, "Look, can you see the connection here? All that trapped emotion in the body is trapped when something happens, and you interpret it a certain way that you're bad, or you're not loved, or you're not wanted." And that gets all trapped in the body as an emotion. And as you articulated, as she was crying, and says, "Yeah, look at all that energy coming out of it. That's so much energy that was like trapped." And we just asked the right question, and boom, it all came out.
Exactly.
And then she was free. She was not the same person. She was like, you couldn't get her away from the microphone. She just wanted to be at the front of the room telling jokes and the whole story. And that's where I saw what you could say I'm the expert in, and what you're the expert, come together very powerfully.
Yes. I in fact, that's the reason I approached you in the project that we're doing together, because I've been working in my work, which is managing how I feel, managing myself.
Yes.
I was not working on how I can make changes outside in the world.
Yes.
I'm still very interested in how I manage myself.
Yes.
And I know through my work with you, through my personal relationship, I know that you are very powerful and you master the game of how making things happen. And how I can manage myself to make things happen.
Yes.
So I told myself, this is exactly what I want. I want somebody who I can trust, and I do trust you, who I can trust that can help me complete what I'm providing. I'm providing self-management of how I feel, and I would like to have somebody to help me on how to use this new person with new feelings in making things happen in this world. Yeah. And that's exactly what you master. And I like that so much.
Well, that piece is the leadership. So we talk about fitra, right? Fitra, and there's many ways to talk about this word fitra that doesn't translate directly from Arabic into English. But when you introduced me to the word, it was like you opened up a place to create from in working with people for myself, a whole new vocabulary, if you like. And one of the simple definitions is in Islam is it's the true nature God gave you.
Exactly.
And so it's like being the real you versus the scared you, or the shy you, or the having to perform for everybody you, or whatever the way it is you ended up in life, which you're trapped in that. You're trapped in that fixed way of acting and behaving. And there's no real access to anything else. So if you try to give somebody instruction, or if you try to give somebody advice, who's going to do it? This person that they've become. Whereas if you can get to the root of that, where it all started with you, all of a sudden that falls away as a constraint, as in, oh, I don't have to be nice to everybody. I don't have to be a yes person, or I don't have to let everybody talk it for me, or whatever it is people have made up, or this feeling of not being wanted, which was my thing, right, was not something I had to make up for and be the best at. So all of a sudden, all this kind of in the background, invisible to me, constraints to my life that I didn't know were constraints fell away. And when they all fall away, and then you're in fitra, you're in your natural essence. From there, you can, what kind of life do I want? And who do I want to be in life? And you can actually start to create or invent who you actually want to be. So it takes you all the way to a place where you can create, but not create something that's not you. And this is a tricky bit. This is the bit you and I are working on at the moment, to be able to authentically create from the authentic you who you authentically want to be in life.
Exactly. This is actually fitra. And that's why, because fitra is who you are. It's not that somebody or something that you invented. It's who you are. And who we are is not a fixed thing, by the way. Who we are is continuously evolving thing, if you'd like to call it.
Yes.
And how to be in that environment, continuously evolving in a continuously evolving you. That's fitra.
It's funny because the word that came to mind was being, but we're a human being. And if you look at the word being, it's a verb.
Yeah.
So you're not a thing, you're a verb.
Yes.
Because you're ongoingly reacting to and in a dance with, if you like, or in a reflection with how you're perceiving the world.
100%.
Yeah. And there's your past and how you've perceived that. I did some study recently with a Heidegger scholar who called me up. He did this real breakthrough in discovering something from 3 years of studying Heidegger. And he called me up and he said, we said before in the work I used to do that you're not your past. He goes, that's complete horse manure. It's not true, because you're always going to be an Englishman, whether you like it or not. You've got that somehow impacting how you be in life.
Yes.
So we started to see that there's, in this moment, who I am is, I am somehow shaped and influenced by my past, from my interpretations of the past and what I've been taught and what I've deduced from that. But there's also the future that I'm perceiving, which can't be coming from anywhere else other than what I know, which is all stuff that's accumulated from my past. So who I am in this moment is my past is influencing it, and my interpretations, and my interpretations of what I see for myself in my future, in addition to whatever it is I'm dealing with right now in this moment. If a car's coming towards me, there's a certain way I'm going to react to that.
Exactly.
So who I am in any moment, and there's only this moment, always, is in this tension between the past, the future, and what's presenting itself. And nothing stands still. Things are always happening. So I am an aming. I am constantly, as you just said, constantly shifting in how I am being, because I am being in a dance with how everything is showing up for me. Part of a longer conversation, but I'm also passionate and lit up by this opportunity we have for all my clients, but particularly in the Middle East, where I just find people so receptive, and especially when we're talking about fitra, because for me, it's, we want that. We want that. How do I get to be in fitra? Because they all seem to know about fitra, and we know about all sorts of things. We know about being happy. We know about being satisfied. We know about being fulfilled. People can say, I've got everything I ever wanted. Why am I not satisfied?
That's true.
So knowing doesn't make any difference. It's an alteration in being, an alteration in my experience of life right now.
Yes. That's
how we come together. And this is why this is a very special episode of Free to Lead. Free to lead. I'm free to lead with what's happening. And I'm responsible for all my automatics that may be showing up.
So it's the beauty of what we are doing together, and the beauty of what's happening right now is that, number one, I'm talking about my perspective of it. Number one, I'm going.
Yes.
I can see how I'm going, because growing.
Yes.
Yes, I'm growing, and I'm making this growth available for others.
You're my, if you like, lab rat. As we have a call every week, we have 2 calls at least a week.
Exactly.
We're talking more frequently now. And one of which is where I'm figuring out how to cause the kind of results we want to cause with people. And through coaching you, discovering at the same time breakthroughs you're having in your life and your business and your health.
Yes.
It's not like we put together something and go and preach it to people. It's evolving itself.
Exactly. So this is the beauty about what I'm offering, what we are offering, is that we are letting people enjoy what we are actually evolving to and what we are developing and how we developing and how we are improving our life and our world. And I'm very excited about this because it's a daily, for me, it's a daily evolving process. And as I just shared in the beginning of our conversation, I always read people and I can see how I read people, how my reading of people is evolving every day.
Yeah.
And how I relate to people is evolving, and how the more I read people and the more I receive people from a powerful position, my life is quite different, and the possibilities of my life are wow. I couldn't see that before.
Yes.
I can see now beautiful life available for me, and I can pursue it. And actually, this is developing and this is evolving every day.
Yes. And just to go back a little bit, you're having amazing breakthroughs with people's health, reversing type 1 diabetes. That's unheard of. People think they just have to live with it.
Yes.
Infertility, all of a sudden people are... I have a client who did your program, and she's now pregnant, she wasn't expecting that, and that's all happening.
Okay.
I can imagine people listening to this edition of Free to Lead, either themselves or know others who are like, well, how do I get in touch with this guy? So how do people reach out to you if they want to reach out to you? How do they get involved? Or even practitioners listening and think, that sounds interesting. How do they get hold of you?
Actually, I have a platform called Live with the Doctor.
On School, right.
On School. I would love if I can give you the URL for that,
yes,
for that platform, and anybody can contact me at that platform.
Great.
Yeah, and by the way, why I made this platform, I want the whole world to live with me what I'm going through.
Yes.
And I kept telling my daughter, I want the whole world to hear me. I want people to hear me. So we had this platform for this.
Right. Now, could be a problem with that because it's all in Arabic. So how does somebody in the middle of America...
If somebody will write in English, I will answer in English. But most of my clients, over 95% of my clients are...
What if someone just wants to get in touch with you and say, hey, can you help me with my type 1 diabetes?
I can have my email, if
which is?
It's Ahmed, AHMED,
yes,
at